Hey all, welcome to Comic Books Beyond. This show is all about demystifying comics and looking at books from a new reader-friendly perspective. You can really start reading comics anywhere, but there's better places to start than others. Hey Beyonders, welcome to Comic Books Beyond. I'm your host Vic. This week we are talking about Captain America the Winter Soldier as written by Ed Brubaker with primary pencils by Steve Epting and Mike Lark. So before we start, we've got a couple little bits of news. So we have a big announcement that is going to change the Comic Books Beyond universe forever, which is total BS, and just like I'm sick of hearing that one in comics. We're on YouTube now. We have been on YouTube, but we had like literally 2 videos up there. I was able to push the podcast up there. I only did the last couple episodes. Those are my favorites. And a lot of them might get moved up there with some tweaks. I haven't decided yet, but I like having some stuff off the YouTube channel. What we're looking to do on the YouTube channel is I actually want to give a very condensed version of some of our episodes. While we're doing this Marvel Premiere and DC Compact arc of the show, which by my math is going to go on for approximately a year, we're going to do some stuff in addition to that. I want to put some just more scripted versions out there, just to try it and see how that goes. Maybe we'll get some more traffic from YouTube onto the show. I really do want to thank all the new listeners who are popping on. Like, I'm kind of blown away by how many new people have just seemingly shown up in the past couple weeks. But yeah, that version is going to be a lot more scripted. This is going to be a lot more kind of just fun, hanging out, rambly stuff. Other stuff we have going on. So it is Wednesday the 12th? We'll say it's the 12th. I don't know. I don't know how time works anymore. Time is not real. Yeah, it's August 12th. On August 7th, we had a interview with Matt McGrath up, who is a great dude. Very nice Canadian creator who is doing his own folk horror, which is up on Kickstarter. I really do recommend checking out both the episode and the Kickstarter if you like folk horror. The price value in this one is insanely good. I paid like, I don't know, $15, and I got this story and like 2 others on his as add-ons that seemed appealing. I just grabbed the digital copies. I'm just running late on room, and we're looking to get rid of some stuff. I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Banger on Bluesky. He told me about this site called Vinted, which I'm going to start selling some of my collection off. Nothing crazy. I'm not hard up for money or nothing like that. But anything I make off there is probably going to be going back into the show. I just have so many books that like I have a couple versions of them, or I don't think I really need to read them again. That's where stuff's going up there. 2 other just like fun things recently. I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's good. It's as good as people say. I'm going to try to put a review up on YouTube. I don't have a ton more to say than isn't out there, but I just want to give my thoughts. And I really want to keep this version of the show about comic books. So I think like when we have like a video game or a movie or a TV show we want to talk about or give a review of, I might start pushing stuff up to YouTube just because I want to talk about this stuff with you guys. And I have an idea for some extra content that won't be a Wednesday episode, and maybe we'll put some version of it out there too. I don't know. All right. Oh, last thing I did, shout out to friend of the show, Brandon McNulty, who took me to Haunt the Readers last weekend. From the day I'm recording this, I got to hang out with 2 of my favorite writers, Christopher Triana and Aaron Beauregard. They write in the extreme horror splatterpunk genre. I met about 10 other authors. I got to see Brandon moderate a cool panel. I worked line detail. I got to hang with Brandon when he was doing his signing and stuff. I'm gonna say I was his bodyguard. I really wasn't, but if anybody asks, like that's what I was doing there. Definitely want to go back next year. I was only able to stay for 1 day, just because of some issues we found with our car. But it was a great time. If you're interested in horror novels, definitely check out Haunt the Readers next year in Pennsylvania. I believe another version is going to happen. This one seemed wildly successful. It was at Boobies Brewing, Bubes brewing, and it's got this like haunted castle vibe. I didn't even go to the cool parts of it, but some of the parts of it were just a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I walked away with a lot of books, so I'm gonna start doing more novels. So maybe we'll do I don't know. Maybe we'll try to do a novel once or twice a month. I'm reading right now The 13th Coyote by or Coyote. I'm not actually sure how it's pronounced in this version, by Christopher Triana, and it's pretty good. It's a horror western. It's really really thick, so it's taking me longer than I wanted to get through it. But we're not here to talk about extreme horror or anything else. We are here primarily to talk about Captain America the Winter Soldier as part of the Marvel Premiere Edition. Now, this book contains, I believe this is volume 5 of Captain America. Just double checking my math here. There is the original, then there was the longer run, then there was the one we don't talk about, then there was the one with Mark Waid. This was Captain America volume 5. Written by Ed Brubaker. Let's just crack open the credits here and we're going to go. So one thing I want to try to do with the podcast is just tighten it up a tiny bit. So we have issues 1 to 6 had art by Steve Epting with Mike Lark on the flashback art from 2 to 5. Issue number 7 was Jean-Paul Leon. We also had Steve Epting on issues 8, 11, and 14, with Mike Perkins doing the finishes. Mike Lark was the flashback artist of 12. Frank D'Armata was the color artist on, it looks like, all of this. And we had VC's Randy Gentile and Chris Iliopoulos and Joe Caramagna on lettering. And it looks like Steve Epting and Frank D'Armata were the cover artists. Now, this volume was originally published, I believe, in 2005 through 2009. It might have been 2004. Do I still have that webpage up? I hope I do. Yep, this was January 2005 to July 2009. So this was at tail end of high school and most of my college for me. Now, this is one of, if not my absolute favorite Captain America stories. I haven't read a ton of Cap, to be honest. I read Heroes Reborn because that's what was when I was in like first discovering comics, and I am so sorry to anyone who knows what that is. And I've read a lot of odds and ends here and there. I read the Remender stuff, which it was kind of like a sci-fi adventure. It just kind of seemed like a weird Cap story, but it was okay. I read some of the stuff that came after, and I'm really enjoying Zdarsky's run, but I'm reading that on the app, so I'm like persistently like several issues behind. So let's not beat around the bush. This is Captain America Winter Soldier. If you're familiar with the Marvel movie, you kind of know the general conceit of this. We're not going to be spoiling anything too heavy here, but spoiler alert, Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier. Okay, we got it out of the way. Now, I don't really have any major disclaimers here, but I do want to talk about this version just a little bit. So, this I don't actually fault it for. This collects issues 1 through 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then jumps through 11 and 14, skipping issue 10. Now, issue 10 was a tie-in to House of M, which was an event written by Brian Michael Bendis. It's an X-Men based event, but it's a full Marvel Universe based event where Scarlet Witch says no more mutants and no more mutants are born. A little more complicated than that. I'm being incredibly reductive, but that's the general conceit, and I think every book tied into it one way or the other. And I don't like when collections do this. I understand why they did. It has no relevance to the story. They just moved it over. Now, I fully read this version on the Hoopla app. Now, I want to talk about that app really quick. Sorry if I'm all over the place today. Just have a lot I want to get out. The Hoopla app is an app which is provided by your library system if they choose to participate. They may not. It costs them money. If you have access to it, if you have a library card, definitely check it out. It's free for you. It's not necessarily free for them, but it is a great app. And it has things like Punisher Max on there, which is not available on Marvel Unlimited and is totally out of print because Marvel are fucking cowards. Sorry, rant over. Now, I wish they included issue 10 just because it bothers me when they don't include things like that. Just tack it on at the end and just say, hey, this isn't actually part of the story. Just happened there. I wish they did it. rant over. I didn't have a ton of trouble reading this one. I really liked this one compared to the Fantastic Four one we did for the reasons of this had covers. Now, I did not go back to the app and read everything there issue to issue. I had read that in the past. I didn't read this entire run in the past, but I read like the first half of it before my Marvel Unlimited expired a long time ago. So this is a reread for me, and I'm a big fan of all the Captain America movies, really. Winter Soldier is up there with my favorites. It's like 1 and 2 are my top two there. It goes back and forth on the day. 1 is a criminally underrated movie. 2 is very appropriately rated. I think 3 and 4 are just fine. 4 has a noticeable dip in quality, and my friend explained to me that he has a theory that the entire movie, or at least the majority of it, was done like green screened and edited together, where none of the actors were actually on screen together. I don't know if that's true, but that might be why like the movie just doesn't feel great. I think it's a little bit better than people say it is, though. All right, so we're going to talk about this book a little bit. We're going to do some things I like, things I don't like, and give it a rating at the end. So the general conceit of this story is there is a cosmic cube that falls into the hands of the Red Skull and other enemies. Now, the cosmic cube basically has plot powers. It's ill-defined, it's kind of MacGuffin-y, and I'm sorry, it has plot powers. That's what it does. It's never clearly defined exactly what it can and can't do, and it's used that way throughout the story. There's also an antithesis to Captain America, and we kind of go with like the huge revised history of Captain America on this. There's a ton of deep, rich backlore to like the Super Soldier program that goes back to, I want to say Steve Epting was doing a lot of that. I didn't read all of that stuff. Older Marvel comics, I'm just a little spotty on. I've read a lot of Spider-Man and X-Men, but not too much else. And the history of Captain America goes back to literally the 40s. He's one of the older Marvel characters with the invaders, like with Namor the Submariner, the original Human Torch, the Angel, who's not Warren Worthington. There's a lot of stuff. Even if you just want to Wikipedia it, it's worth reading. It's just kind of fascinating. So the current run of this has a lot of the other super soldiers and one specific unique super soldier coming to terms with Captain America. And normally we wouldn't spoil this, but kind of everybody knows, and it's the main conceit of the book. And if you read the freaking forward by Ed Brubaker, which is very good, or Sebastian Stan, also pretty good, you will just know Bucky is the Winter Soldier. Bucky was Cap's original sidekick from the 40s. So what happened there was, I don't know exactly who was writing it, but I think it was probably Stan Lee at the time, where they just kind of retconned that Bucky was dead. And Ed Brubaker writes about this, where he tried to find the comic where Bucky died, and some comic book guys said, well, it never actually happened on screen. They just retconned him out. And he didn't like that, so it was, done. All right, so let's get into some fun things that I like and things that I don't like. We're doing our little bit of a point-counterpoint thing here. I love the art in this one. Steve Epting and Michael Lark are two of my absolute favorite artists. The counter-argument to this, to what I like about them, they just look good for a really spy thriller. They're easy to follow, and just the superhero characters are pretty well defined. The counter-argument is they use so much ink and they're so dark. I actually have trouble sometimes telling the non-colorful characters, just like your standard, your standard run-of-the-mill people. I have some trouble telling them apart, and they're using a lot of panels here. Overall, still love the art. I love seeing Nazis get killed. So, that's something we got going on here a little bit. I'm not going to tell you which ones. I already talked about this a little bit, but let's go a little deeper on this point. So this book is kind of a meta-commentary criticism of bad writing of old comic books. And I know that sounds a bit of a stretch, and I don't think I would have picked up on it if I didn't read Ed Brubaker's foreword. Now, the reason I bring this up is when you think about the early days of Marvel, those stories were super pulpy, super told in a way where you didn't need to read anything else. And I think there's a lot of merit to that, but there's lack of a cohesive story like there is now. And I am going to be the first to admit, Marvel and DC, if you try to make a cohesive story, you'll go nuts. But you can see some cohesive stories. This is Ed Brubaker trying to fix a lot of that, where we are going back to the past. Like, this is really paying respects to old stories and trying to make them better, which is something I would like to see more writers do. It's one thing I do really like about Grant Morrison. Say what you want about the quality of their writing. They do try as hard as possible to make respect of the whole story, but it doesn't always work. One issue I have with this series is there's a couple issues that are just incredibly info dumpy. This is kind of a strength and kind of a weakness at the same time. A good comic book, you should be able to just look at the art and get what's going on. Here, you can do that, and then you get also this narration. And I normally love Brubaker narration. Brubaker is one of my absolute favorite writers. I read a ton of his Image work this year. I think I've read almost all of it at this point. There's probably something I missed. And I've been reading him off and on for years, but I went like a deep dive this year, rereading everything and just like going as hard as I could. But the info dumps here are just... I feel like since they're so ingrained with what's going on in the art, it's just so repetitive. And I found myself like, okay, kind of, we get the point here. And it just, the narration wasn't as good for me as some other stuff. I think that's just going to be completely, totally subjective. So I just wanted to bring that up. I want to talk about one specific issue, issue 7. I don't want to say this was my favorite issue, but this is a standalone story right in the middle of the book and right in the middle of the collection. And it's really good. It ties back to some things about 2-3 issues prior, and it goes into the history of a character that I forgot existed. And it really makes me want to know more about not only that character, but all the other versions of like Captain America. Remember that Captain America is a symbol. It is an identity. Steve Rogers happens to use that title for the majority of times, and other characters probably used it. If you're watching the Marvel movies, and you probably are, Sam Wilson is currently Captain America, and Bucky was Captain America for a little while, and there was, I think, another one sort of recently, but I might be making that up. There were identities after Cap went away and was more or less resurrected. That's been retconned a few times for how many different ones there were. Falcon Winter Soldier actually talked about this. I think that was the Marvel series. I liked that one for a little while, and then the ending just kind of lost me. And finally, the conclusion of this story. It's satisfying, and it sets something else up. So this premiere collection, it's not its fault, but this one definitely does feel like the first part of a story rather than a full satisfying meal. This is like you're waiting for the next course. That's basically what this comes out. I want to chat about the characters a little bit, just a couple of them. Some characters that are included in here, in addition to Steve, are Agent 13 Sharon Carter and Nick Fury. This is just going to sound silly. I missed those characters. I just haven't read anything with them in a while. I do like this representation of Steve. He's just a little angry for my taste. I believe the arc before him is where he was done dirty, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the Marvel Universe right now. This is still a very solid voice for Steve. He's just a little angrier than normal. The Nick Fury we get in here is Nick Fury to a core, and I really, really, really want Ed Brubaker to write a Nick Fury story. I don't know if he ever did. He could have just had like a Nick Fury arc later in this. He was a really solid Nick Fury, and Agent Carter was so well done in this series. I loved her, and I just want more of her. Like, I don't know if she actually has spin-offs, but I would kill for that. So I want to talk about some of the themes here. The themes in here are very, very subtle and also not subtle at all. There we go, pretentiousness. This is about Steve not really understanding his own history, which I think is super appropriate for him. It's about not knowing who to trust, and just his memory messing with him and not believing the world around him. This is kind of a weird one, but as you get older, you just kind of go through that, where I've heard every time you think about something, you're not remembering the actual event. You're remembering your last memory of it. And it kind of like, a la Fight Club becomes a copy of a copy of a copy. and it gets muddled over time, which you find yourself questioning things. Now, there's the big things in life that I don't really question. I've had conversations with people, and I know roughly the beginning and the end. I don't remember the exact details, and sometimes I'm just wrong when I think about it. And like, I've heard myself on recordings at work where I thought I said a thing, and turns out I said like the exact opposite. And I'm like, well, I'm a jackass and I'm wrong. Oh well. As far as if this makes me want to read more, hell yeah. I really actually, it's going to sound weird. I want to actually go backwards more than forwards, because they reference a lot of things in here where it's not distracting to the story. It just makes me realize there was a lot that happened before that I would just like to know what was going on the past couple months of Steve's life. I do want to keep going. I'm probably actually just going to fire up Marvel Unlimited tonight and read a little bit more, or read my book. I don't know, one of the two. So as far as my recommendation reading for this is something I would probably reread, and this is something I recommend pretty darn highly. I think it's going to be great for new readers. You don't really need to know a ton in the past, and the forward actually catches you up on a lot of the history that even I did not know. There are little references here and there that make things a little, make you realize that just there's a lot more out there, but it does it in a way where you're like, ooh, I kind of want to know about that. And if you're a Marvel Unlim user like me, I'm not trying to shill for him. I would I would be looking at the full meal on this one. I don't think I want to read every single Captain America comic. Like, I have a few Marvel comics that I'm going to do that on. It's like Daredevil and Fantastic Four I think I'm going to do. And a lot of X-Men and Spider-Man I have left. And honestly, maybe all of Moon Knight. Not necessarily because I love Moon Knight that much. I do, but it's just, I've read most of it, so I might as well just knock out the stuff I didn't. So yeah, this is a high recommendation for me. I really like this one. I think it's great. If you're a fan of the movie especially, this is not a carbon copy blueprint of the movie, but you can see the lift and shift they did to make this fit more in the Marvel Universe. Really good stuff. All right, everyone, time for the Wheel of Causality. All right, so if you don't know what the Wheel of Causality is, it's a reference to the Animaniacs' Wheel of Morality. So right now we have about 22 books between all of the Marvel Premiere and Compact editions. And if that number seems a lot low, it is because I have books we've already done pulled off, books that are reserved for others pulled off, and books written by creators who I find to be problematic and I just don't want to give free press to. So we are going to spin. We have 22 books. And as new books come out, they're just going to get added to the wheel. If you would like us to prioritize a book, just let us know. Email us. We'll be happy to honestly bump that up pretty quick. The reason we do the wheel is just so I don't have to think about what to choose next. I did pull off all the Batman stuff. September's Bat month. We're probably going to be doing a Bat book every month. Now, notice I didn't say Gotham. So books like Harley and Ivy, Nightwing, they're still on here. We're just talking about Batman days in September. We might actually have an extra episode or two in September as well. Maybe this month. We'll find out. So we are going to spin the Wheel of Causality. Wheel of Causality. Spin, spin, spin. Give us a book and we'll dive in. That's the Animaniacs reference. All right, we hit 10 on the wheel, which I think is going to be a DC book. What did we get? Oh, I'm excited. We're getting Kingdom Come which is issues 1 through 4 from the 1996 series by Mark Waid with art by Alex Ross. Oh my God, I love that series. So homework for next week, read Kingdom Come or don't. And we're pretty spoiler free. Thanks for hanging out. Check us out on YouTube. I'm hoping around the time this comes up, you're going to get an official video from us. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Hey, so I totally forgot to give recommendations for other stuff to read. For more Brubaker and Epting, I'm highly going to recommend the series Velvet from Image Comics. It's another spy thriller, and it's really, really good. Completely Brubaker, and Epting might be my favorite Brubaker story. And Epting's art, for as good of it is here, way better there. For more Captain America, I'm also just going to flat out recommend the Chip Zdarsky run that's right now. I'm a few issues behind, but it's really, really good. All right, sorry about that, guys. Well, it's time to close the book on today's episode. If you're a comic book creator and you have something for me to review or would like to interview a guest on the show, please send me an email at comicbooksbeyond@gmail.com. This offer is also available to fellow comics journalists. If you're a listener and you want to submit a question, I'd happily read it on the show. Please just let me know if it's okay to read and how you'd like to be credited. If you'd like to get a hold of me otherwise, I'm at comicbooksbeyond on Bluesky, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, but I mostly use Bluesky. I am trying to use Instagram a little bit more, though. If you'd like to show support for the show, please consider leaving a rating, review, or comment. I ask for honest reviews only, and I'm always looking for ways to improve the quality and content of the show. All right, everyone, be good to each other, and stick around for some gratitude and thanks. Comic Books Beyond would like to thank John Burkle and the crew of the Talking Comics podcast, Brandon McNulty, Lisa and Brad from Comic Book Couples Counseling, Alex Jaffe, Jeremy Whitley, Jimmy Gaspero and the crew of Comic Book Yeti, John Klein III of Shadow and Flames with Magik podcast, David Pepose, and all of our listeners and co-hosts.